Welcome back, and today on the channel we are in my man cave. This is my little garage. I have all my tools here that I need today. Today we are going to be looking at the Jimny axle. In the previous episode you would have noticed that I broke one of the mounts off the axle, so today we are starting with the whole process of refreshing the axle on the Jimny. I've got new bushings to go into the radial arms. I have some welding work to do on the diff. We're going to give it a coat of paint and anything else that comes along, so stick around. So for those of you that didn't see the previous episode, this here is the bracket that I'm talking about that we ripped off. There's a piece that's supposed to go in there that's got an eye like this. You can see that a couple of episodes ago I did break it, and I did a very temporary fix. I braced this side because this side had bent out of shape a little bit. This side here completely broke off. Did a few tack welds here. This was a quick MacGyver. As you can see, it's come off worse off, and this is what it's kind of supposed to look like, where you've got the two brackets. The radial arm comes out, goes into the front. So first of all, we're going to clean this up. While I pull this whole axle out, we're going to give the whole thing a little bit of a sand with the wire brush, clean it up, give it some paint, and then stick it back under the Jimny, and hopefully not have this problem again. It lasted me a competition as well as some good off-roading, so it wasn't too bad, but today we'll fix it properly. Alright, so what I've managed to do so far is just to clean up some of the old welds, take the wire brush and the angle grinder, just clean up any of that other material, and you would have seen that I had the shifting spanner. Really all you want is something with a little bit of leverage. There you'll see that I've managed to straighten out this bracket. It's bowed a little bit, it's supposed to be more straight. You can see with this one, it's completely straight on both sides, so I'm going to do my best to get that straight again. So what we've got here is the other piece of the bracket that is supposed to mount up there. Something like that. You would have seen that I put that brace in over there. It's bent and twisted. It's completely mangled. So next up, cut this off, clean up the bracket, put it back into place, give it a couple of tacks, make sure that we're happy with the fitment, test the radial arm, and then weld it in for good. When you are busy with your cardboard aided design, it's always a good idea to make sure that you try and use cardboard that's about the same thickness as the material that you're going to be making your final product out of. I've done it before where you use a much thinner cardboard and then all your clearances are different. Alright, so a bit of an update. Off camera I was busy with the bracket trying to see how I could fit it up against the axle, and I've just come to the realization that it's not going to work. So this bracket over here, where the bolt got through, I actually noticed, and I don't know if you're going to get that on camera, but that has been ovaled out. So the fact that it's ovaled out is not good. And then when I measured it up and I started looking on the passenger side on the axle, I noticed that that hole is actually about 17 mils out from where it needs to be. So I've gone back to the drawing board, and with a little bit of CAD drawing, if I can get it off here, so my cardboard aided design, I am going to replicate the brackets on this side. I think what I'm going to do is cut this one completely off, cut this piece off over here, make a new bracket out of 3mm steel, and then weld it all back in. It's just not worth trying to go backwards and forwards and everything like that. So what was supposed to be a nice quick fix has turned out to be building out of a whole new bracket for the rear radial arm, but you know what? Build it better is what they say. So also what I've got going on the other side here that I did a bit of a trial with off camera as well, but these here are the radial arms that are currently in. You can see this one made it look all nice and black. This one over here we are going to clean up now. These are the bushes that came with these radial arms from China. These things are so rock hard that even if I take a screwdriver here, you can see how hard they are. So the plan is we're going to rip those bushings out, put some Superpro bushings in there which have a little bit more play. The front ones here unfortunately don't have any more of those or any trade-offs for those, but that should be alright because I'm adding a little bit of flex in the back. This last radial arm fought me to the end. This was the bushing that I eventually had to slice open with a screwdriver and then get it out. Down on the floor I have given this radial arm over here a nice spray paint. I've just used general normal Rust-Oleum paint, and if we can get it to focus, normal gloss paint. And the reason for that is that when you're out 4x4 and you come back, the last thing you want is a nice powder coated, I'll get that right eventually, powder coated arm, because then all the powder coat chips off. So nice can of good quality spray paint, you can touch it up wherever you go. But that is it for tonight. I'm going to let this paint dry and we'll see you tomorrow in the morning or the afternoon. Alright, so a bit of an update. I've managed to get that bracket in there, drilled the hole through on that bracket over there, lined them up, measured up a couple of points on the inside over here, from the radial arm to the axle. And let me come around this side, it might be a little bit easier to see. Measured the distance from the part of the radial arm over here to the distance of the axle, lined it up as best I could, and I'm actually really happy with the way this came out. Is it perfect? No, it's not. I cut all of these brackets with an angle grinder, so there's no CNC machining, there's nothing like that. It's literally cutting discs and grinding discs to get that to where it is. So I'm actually really happy with the way that this is coming out. So next up, remove the radial arm again, take the brackets off, clean up a little bit over here where there's still some paint where I need to do a little bit of welding, and then after that So a bit of an update, just put a couple of tacks on there. I am very happy with the placement of where everything is lining in terms of the radial arm. Looks good. Next up, prepare my spot, make sure I'm happy, and we're going to burn this in, and hopefully I don't have to do it again ever. So again, I'm quite happy with how this is looking out. Please excuse my welding, I'm no expert, but you can see I added, that's quite warm still, I added a brace in between there, and that's one of the inserts from the bushes, just to prevent these two from coming in. You can see that my cutting over here is terrible. I may need to shave that off a little bit more just to get the sizing right, but overall this is looking really good, really strong, really sturdy. And I think at the end of this, I don't think it's coming off again, even if I wanted it to. So it's next day. Last night I spent a little bit of time of painting the axle. I wasn't going to show you all of that boring stuff, but here it is this morning. Gave it a nice coat with some etch primer, finished up. Don't look at my weldings. My weldings are terrible, but those brackets are in. They're not going anywhere. So next up is to finish painting the axle, prepping it, getting it ready, and then I need to decide, either put it back into the Jimny or rebuild my shocks and everything while they're out, but I'm going to decide that a little bit later. For now, time to clean up. I'll check back in once everything is done. Alright, so we are done with the etch primer that we have painted onto the axle. There we go, that's busy drying, that's why it's all glossy. There it is black. I can't decide whether I'm going to put a coat of paint on here or just leave it with the plain etch primer. The only part I'm really worried about really getting any corrosion or anything like that is the new brackets that I've welded on there, but everything else was treated. I didn't strip it back down to bare metal, but other than that we are looking good. Next up, bushes into the other radial arm. I've already done the one, bushes into the other radial arm, and then either to paint or to fit it back under the Jimny. just a bit of an update. This is taking way longer than expected, and with me still working a normal day-to-day job, unfortunately the Jimny doesn't get the attention that I would love to give it. So just to give you an update before we end off this episode, we have now got all the caster correction bushings in the rear. The rear axle at the back here is looking mighty fine with all of its paint. Next up, it's getting a little bit cold outside here in Cape Town at the moment. So in the next video, the axle is going under the Jimny. We're going to focus on rebuilding the shocks on the rear of the Jimny. We will eventually get to the front one, but the rears, I know I've got a leak and seal on the one, and then anything else that pops up after that. So join us for the next one. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, and hit that notification bell as well so that you know when the next video goes live. See you in the next one. Peace.